Welcome to Quantum Change. I'm Natasha Williams, and I help you to bridge the gap from where you are to where you want to be so that you can stop wasting time, energy, and money and have the freedom that you're really looking for. And today I want to discuss with you how to listen. What does that mean? And you've probably done courses, you've probably heard people saying, "You're not really listening to me, repeat after me, what did I say?" And I just want to go one step deeper. I'm not just talking about listening to what a person is saying so that you can hear what they're saying and then reply. I'm talking about what is really going on inside. Now, what comes with that is when you stop taking things personally. When we grow up, we take everything personally. Everything that ever happens to us, we see it as what is done to us or not done enough for us, and we maybe see that we were neglected or abused or whatever. But now that you're older, you're still carrying that chip on your shoulder. And what happens if you just took that story away? What happens if you looked at other people and realized that they are also just talking from their story? And so whenever they're sharing information to you, they're talking about themselves. They're not talking about you. They're talking about their own story that they've carried around with them forever. And likewise, you are responding from your point of view, which is your story. So if you dropped that story and you just became neutral and you just listened, what you're going to start picking up is not just the actual words that are being spoken. It's the body language that accompanies it. It's noticing whether they are starting to become more and more hyper, or if they're starting to become calmer. It's noticing the environment. It's noticing what triggered it. It's becoming aware of the situation around the person and not taking it personally, noticing their story. And when you actually sit back and you stop taking it personally and you imagine that all you are is just a sounding board, you're just reflecting like an echo back to them, what is going on with them, without saying, well, I also need to be heard, I also need to share, because the truth is, you might need to be heard, but if somebody is in their story, they can't hear you. No matter how hard they try, they're not capable, and the truth is nobody in the world can actually hear you if they are stuck in their story. So the only person who really can hear you is you. So when you listen to yourself and you listen to your own story and you love you and you take time for you, you don't need to be heard by others. It's not about others, it's about you. And when you know that you've got your fill, when you know that you do things for you, you will have so much time and energy available, freed up to actually hear other people's stories, that it starts actually becoming interesting. Because you will start to notice how they are actually stuck in certain patterns of thoughts. And you don't need to say anything about it. The only thing you need to do is just ask questions. So when you listen, when you open to something, that is when you learn. When you're not open, when you're not listening, and when you're blocked off and you're only hearing something from your own perspective and you block everybody off, all you're hearing is what you need to say back to them, and you're hearing yourself speak. Now, they say that the person who talks the most always seems to have the best time. And I remember I read a book by Nietzsche. He was actually he had a rule that if anybody came around the dinner table, no one was allowed to speak. And all his disciples knew that, and they were sitting around the table. And one day a traveler came by and he popped in and he had a meeting and he sat down with everyone. And he didn't know about this rule, so he just proceeded to talk. And he never realized once throughout the meal that he was the only one speaking. He just spoke and spoke and spoke. And eventually, when they all had finished eating and everybody was ready to go, he got up and he said, "Thank you so much. That was the most interesting conversation that I've ever had." Now, that's actually what goes on. And I've tried it for myself, and it's been very interesting, where I've barely uttered a word. I've only looked with interest. And I truly am interested. It's not that I'm not interested. I really am interested. But it's interesting how few people actually are really heard. And that, I think, is what most people are looking for. It's not to tell you something. It's just to be heard. So not only are you adding value to your own life by listening, by hearing somebody else's perspective, by seeing what's going on underneath the surface, by watching the patterns, you're also giving them the opportunity to hear themselves out, to throw those ideas around and to start becoming more familiar with themselves. And so you're helping them and you're helping yourself too. I hope this video helps you. And please, if you do like my videos, subscribe and comment. That would be great. I do reply to all my comments, and I look forward to seeing you next week.